Would you like a fun way to use your layering flower dies? Well, today I have two ways to get a pastel watercolour look. Hello and welcome. It's time for another Take Two with Therese at Altenew, and I'm creating two beautiful floral cards today. They are both crafter flower sets. Now, I was asked about a card that I had previously made and how I created such a pale pastel watercolour look, and it's not hard to do, and I'm going to show you two different ways you can do it today. I basically just went through my layering flower die sets and I wanted something that was quite large. So these were some good options that I thought you could use, including these jumbo sets. I really wanted to use these, and I might even come back and create some more cards with these down the track. But for today, I'm going to be using the Crafter Flower Rose as well as the Magnolia set. How pretty are these roses though? Anyway, let's focus. And they're all nice big flowers too. Okay, so for the first technique, I'm going to be using design paper to get that watercolor kind of pastel watercolory look. And what I did was simply grab out my papers from Altenew and chose some that I thought might work really well. I have a mix of sets here, and mostly I used papers from the Summer Garden as well as the Celebrations set. My original card used the gel printing set, which is really pretty, but you can use whatever you have on hand, or even try the next technique, which will be coming along soon, so don't go anywhere. I want a really pale look, so I'm looking here at the number of die cuts I've got to do, and there are 4 separate die cuts to make up this layered rose. And the great thing about die cutting these flowers is you can give them as much depth as you want. If you want a nice bright bold flower, then go for it, but I was wanting something a little bit more subtle, so I'm focusing my die cutting on the paler portions of the cardstock. And initially my final die I had cut out of that bright pink, but I just found that was just a little bit too stark against the other pale colors that I've used. So the great thing is you can just come along and die cut another out of another section of the paper that's nice and pale, and until you're kind of happy with the mix of colors that you've got. So this is how I would typically create my flowers. Sometimes I get it right the first time, sometimes I've got a die cut 2 or 3 times. I pretty much just mix it up until I'm happy. I'm only going to be putting one floral image and some leaves on each card design, but it would look really pretty if you did a couple as well. It's totally up to you. I did use some matte medium to layer these together, just because that gives me a little bit of time to move the die cuts into place. But if you prefer to use a dotted adhesive or even a spray adhesive, just whatever's your personal choice. And for these leaves, I did go for that sort of blue-green color, which is really pretty, and layered those up as well. Okay, I wanted to add a little bit of something to the card, so I have this, it's the Simple Frame 3D embossing folder, and I have got some 110-pound Nina cardstock here. Now the sandwich I like to use is tab 2, the embossing folder, and then only one plate, and I put this on top, and that just prevents my embossing folder from curling up. And I find this runs through my Big Shot really well, but you need to use a sandwich that works with your machine, and you will find that each machine might be slightly different. Mine's really old, so some people might even need to add a shim. I added the sentiment from the Beginner Builder stamp set with some obsidian black ink, and then I decided to actually cut the frame out. Now I did fussy cut this. There is a coordinating stencil, and I did toy with the idea of stenciling some gold around the frame, but I did come in instead and add some gold splatters with the ink spray, and this is a beautiful bright metallic gold. Then I could pop up the actual frame on the front of my side fold A2 card. And for my flowers, like I said, I'm just going to be using the one flower on each card today, and I want to pop up some of these leaves. So how I do that is I actually work out where I want the leaves to be that are going to be popped up, attach them with some of the dotted adhesive, and then I can come in and actually pop up the whole section of the flower and the leaves all at once. It's really easy to do. And I think this would have made a really pretty sympathy card as well. And I do like how these colours look together. Alright, so for my next technique, I'm going to be creating my own watercolour look cardstock. And I saw Ishani do this recently. And basically I've got some Altenew alcohol inks. These are also what you use to refill your alcohol markers with. So you can use any colours that you want. You can use any alcohol refills or any alcohol inks that you might have. This is simply a well of clean water, and I am using 3 different colours. I've got the Vanilla Cream, Dewdrops and the Aqualicious, and I want to create some fairly pale kind of pastel-y colours, and I'm using 110 pound Nina cardstock. This is not any fancy cardstock at all, and Ishani was doing this on her channel recently and it just blew my mind. I thought it looked so beautiful, and I wasn't sure how it was going to dry or how it was going to look in the end, but how pretty is that? So I did a total of 3 panels. I did come in and add some more colour each time, and I could just sort of add as much or as little as I want. You could go as bright as you want to. And by just dropping the paper directly onto the ink, like I did this time, I managed to get some really bright colours. Now I'm actually not going to use that bright panel today because, like I said, I am going for more pale watercolour-y look. So I did actually come in and create one more panel in a more sort of lighter tone here. It was really easy and fun to do, and I can't wait to try some more. I let these dry overnight and I was pretty impressed. There wasn't a lot of warping, and like I said, this is just Nina 110 pound cardstock. It's so easy. Now I am going to use the Crafted Flower Magnolia this time. There are a few layers again, and I'm just going to lay out all of my dies on the cardstock and cut them out. I'm choosing some of the paler portions of the cardstock, trying not to get too worried about where I'm laying them out because if I can sometimes overthink these things, and then that just feels like I'm not getting any crafting done because I'm thinking too much. I don't know if you ever have that problem. So I did use my matte medium again to layer up all the petals, but for some reason I did all the layers before I put it on the base layer, and I'm not sure why I did that. There was no rational reason other than that's just where I started. And these colours I thought were really pretty together, but it would have been nice in some pinks as well, maybe some mauves, or even in a bright colour if you prefer. I came in a second time and created some green for the leaves. I did consider using those bright colours that I already had in the teal blues, but I just thought it would have been too much of the same colour over and over. So these greens I did exactly the same with the alcohol ink, dipped it in the water, and I used Firefly and Grassed Field. So the panel I want to put on the top of my card, I've stamped the sentiment from the birthday greetings stamp set in some obsidian ink, and then I ran that whole panel through my die cutting machine with the dotted tile debossing cover die. I did cut that down a little bit and pop that up on the front of my side fold A2 card, and then I did exactly the same thing with my flower here. I layered up some of the leaves with some foam tape, and I did actually pop one of them directly on the card front as well. I like kind of mixing it up. Oh, and the center of this flower, I already had die cut from my previous card that I made with some papers from the celebrations. No, it was the gel printing set, I think is where it came from. So I was using my scraps, which I was pretty pleased about. What I'd like to know from you is which one of these cards is your favorite. Do you like the one that I did here with the alcohol ink dipping technique, or did you prefer the one I made with the design paper? Let me know in the comments below. And if you do try this technique, don't forget to share it with us. I'd love to see what you create. I look forward to seeing you back here again real soon. Till next time. Bye.